Welcome back students once again. Myself Vishal Pandey from Green Valley English School. We will continue the topic, nothing new today, but the portion which we have covered already as far as the Pitt's India Act of 1784 is concerned. I have already covered in my previous lecture the monopoly trade over the East India Company regarding which was associated with Pitt's India Act. Now we have also discussed the company's control over Pitt's India Act, as well as we have discussed the administration, that how it works all together. So you can see on your screen Central Legislature. I had already told you that I will be discussing this topic. So let us understand the background of this topic, which is also known as Central Legislature. Children, this is very important as far as Pitt's India Act is concerned, because you can see some pictures on the screen. I will be explaining you that what these numbers indicates and what role is played by executive councils as well. Let us understand. Suppose you can see 3 members in executive council, and this person is the Governor General of Bengal. Suppose if we take Governor General of Bengal, suppose if we are talking about, so if he has to make a law or he has to implement something, he want to introduce a law before the country, he has to participate in an assembly which is to be voted by these 3 executive councils and Governor General himself. So one vote will be given by Governor General again in the favor of himself, and if among these 3 members one member supports to Governor General, then it will be the law will be passed straight away, because you can see if 2 members are giving in the favor of on the behalf of passing the law and 2 members are standing against it, then it will be a tie, and in that condition the monopoly, the right of Governor General, he will implement his right, and with 2 and 2 the law will be passed with, because he has some veto powers as well. So overall, if you unable to understand it, in other words, I can also say this, that whenever Central Legislature wants to pass a bill or a law, 4 members specially used to participate in that in Pitt's India Act. Previously in Regulating Act there were 4 executive councils and 1 Governor General itself, but in Pitt's India Act, what was the reformation? 1 member reduces and 3 members along with Governor General used to take part in that voting, and Governor General has some veto powers as well. So this was the scenario of Central Legislature. Now let us understand our next slide, which is associated with Provincial Legislature. Now what is Provincial Legislature, children? As you all are aware that in India, basically when Regulating Act came, 3 provinces were distributed. From the front, Governor General of Bengal was leading, and 2 of them, Madras as well as Bombay Presidency, was the followers of Bengal Presidency. So ultimately what they are doing is, Madras Presidency also has 3 executive councils and Bombay Presidency also has 3 executive councils, to which these Governor Generals or these generals, these governors are responsible, are in the favor of these executive councils as well. Means they have to report to these executive councils in terms of passing a bill. So this was the Provincial Legislature as far as Pitt's India Act is concerned. Now let us move forward in the next slide and try to understand that what was the revenue system of under Pitt's India Act. Remember, what is Pitt's India Act? Pitt's is labeled on the name of William Pitt, who was the youngest Prime Minister of England. He became Prime Minister of England at the age of 24. So you have to keep this in your mind. As far as revenue is concerned, let me compare this revenue, the Pitt's India Act's revenue, with Regulating Act's revenue. What is the difference? As you can see, in Regulating Act, there were commercial trade and EIC terrestrial possessions as well. What is EIC? East India Company's related tax were there, and salt tax was there in Regulating Act, but certain changes were made in Pitt's India Act revenue. What was that? EIC terrestrial possessions were, means territorial possessions means was deleted and it was eradicated, and British possessions in India was named after this. So nothing new, but only the name has changed in Pitt's India Act and it was suggested as British possession in India. What it means? That it is very much clear that from this change, the control of possessions will not be there in the hands of East India Company, rather than it will be in hands of British Empire. So this was the change, and the commercial trade remained as same as it was in Regulating Act. Salt tax, I had already briefed you about salt tax, that salt tax was first of all introduced in ancient period, was introduced by Chandragupta Maurya. From there itself salt tax was taking place in India. Then later on Mughals also continued it, and then obviously the Britishers, which was, this law was broken by Mahatma Gandhi at Dandi. So this was a very prominent tax which was reduced, which was broken by MK Gandhi. So this was the explanation of revenue. Now I hope you all understood these all topics. Let us move forward and try to understand that what we had learned in Pitt's India Act. You can see in the next slide, we have already covered trade, the monopoly of trade of Britishers. We have covered the control of company, then administration, and we have covered the central legislature. We have discussed provincial legislature, and finally we had discussed revenue. So this is all about Pitt's India Act. I hope you liked this video. Watch it as many times as you can, because it will be very beneficial. It will not be able to understand you, especially only when you watch for the first time. So keep watching this presentation, keep watching this video, and stay updated. Wait for the next presentation, the Chartered Act of 1813, and later on 1833 will be discussed by me. So wait for the next update. Take care and bye-bye.